Portage County Board of Supervisors meeting, recorded July 19, 2022.
We'll call the Portage County Board to order. Roll call.
We have 23 supervisors present. We have 3 remote. We have Supervisor Hunnell, Supervisor Dodge, and Supervisor Sislevich remote. We have Supervisor Morrow excused, and Supervisor Keller is absent.
Supervisor Morrow had said she may be 10 minutes late, so she may show up, or did that change? No. I think she's trying to make it, but she's running late. Supervisor Jankowski.
Got a call from Pat yesterday, said his mom passed away.
Oh. Pat.
Keller.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Pledge to the flag. Flag. Oh, there it is.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocation by Supervisor Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In thinking about my invocation this evening, I've spent some time reflecting on some of the events that have occurred in our nation since the last time that we've convened as a full board. Here's a few that come to my mind. We've seen a decision by the United States Supreme Court that eliminated a constitutionally protected right that had existed for nearly 50 years. On July 4th, our country saw yet another tragic mass shooting. And through continued public hearings, we've learned more about the events leading up to and following the January 6th attack on our nation's capital. As I've tried to make sense of these events for myself, I've observed a common theme. These events, and others both nationally and locally, have served as the catalyst for continued divisiveness among the members of our community. At times, we seem to be overly focused on our differences as if the world operates in shades of only black and white. Someone is painted as either a liberal or a conservative, pro-choice or pro-life, pro-gun or anti-gun, and there are countless other examples of line-drawing labels that are often employed to characterize one another. But in reality, I've found that the world operates more often than not in shades of gray, and applying rigid labels to categorize people isn't a particularly accurate process. Likewise, I think the fixation on our perceived differences does little to help us move forward as a community. It only serves to keep us entrenched in an us versus them mentality. Respectfully, I think we'd be better served to remember other labels. Just a few that come to my mind are human being, Wisconsinite, neighbor, Portage County resident, colleague, and friend. As elected officials, we've all acted upon a calling to serve our community. And of course, all of the money that we're all making in this role. As we endeavor to make policy decisions that are in the best interest of Portage County, let's not lose sight of all that unites us. And in those instances where we do disagree, let's do it respectfully and with an eye toward finding common ground. Thank you.
Before we go on, I would like to introduce, in case you don't already know, our new county clerk, Maria Davis, right here next to me. So if you get a chance, say hello, or so you can put a name with a face. So when you call down, you know who it is when you call down who you're talking to. So. Review and approval of June 21st, 2020 second minutes. Moved by Supervisor Medine, second by Supervisor Dubeck. Discussion, corrections, or changes? All those in favor with aye? Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. Correspondence. Okay, tell,
There is none.
thank you. There's Julie. Presentations, first one is Parks Director Ryan Rose, Park Director Annual Report, and I told him he had 1 minute. Along with the other two as well.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Chair Haga, Executive Pavelski. Today I want to give you a quick presentation. I did have 3 minutes, so I'm going to try to get it done in that time. For those of you supervisors I haven't met yet, as Chair Haga said, my name is Ryan Rose, and I am the Parks Director here for Portage County. I have two objectives tonight: to be quick and to try to put a smile on your faces. We've had 2 long meetings, and my goal is to make you smile tonight. So we'll see if I can do that. In the spirit of the upcoming elections, I'd like to share a true story that happened back in April right here in this hall. Most of you don't know that Sheriff Lucas and I, we come from the same hometown, went to the same high school, and at that meeting, I believe he was number 7 on the agenda. There was 27 things on that agenda that night, and at number 4, we were an hour and 15 minutes into that meeting. For all of you that are new, that's code for it's going to be a long night. As Sheriff Lucas was getting ready to give his presentation, I leaned over to him and I said, Sheriff, if you can make your presentation under 5 minutes, I said, I'm going to vote twice for you. And, Sheriff paused and looked at me. He says, Ryan, do you know how hard it's going to be for you to vote twice for me? I paused and looked back at him and I said, Sheriff, do you know how hard it's going to be for me to vote once for you? Just so you know, I vetted that joke with him before I said it, so he knew about it. Thanks for having a good sense of humor. In your agenda, you should have received a packet. I'm not going to go through that. That's like 15 pages long. That's for your review. It kind of gives you an insight to what is in the Parks Department, what we're doing. It shows you all the different parks. If you go back to the back pages of it, that's kind of where I want to just talk a little bit about. So we had a great year. 2021 was our best year we've ever had revenue-wise, as well as usage in the parks. We had people everywhere. We had a difficult time at times keeping up with the demand in the parks. COVID brought everyone to the parks. On the trail systems, in the campgrounds. Just to give you an example how difficult it was, we had a difficult time even mowing the lawns in the parks, because when one camper would leave, another would come in. So I found out that people get very angry if the grass is 4 inches tall. I didn't think that was an issue camping, but it turns out it is. Another thing that I want to point out is we do have some capital improvement projects that we're working on. One of them is the hydro plant, the dam on Jordan. Last year we started that project. We were unable to finish it because we were not able to get the dam gates. They came in November. They are here. We will be doing another drawdown this year, September 6th. We're going to start drawing that pond down again. People get a little worried about it, but it's actually the Plover River. That's its natural state, so the fish and the animals actually go into the river. So it'll take several weeks to get those in and installed, and then we can fill it back up. One of the biggest things that you guys all see, and I think a lot of people see, are these capital improvement projects. But what we really have is the cooperation with the community, our mountain bike groups, the different groups that we have, really participate and help us out in these projects. Things cost a lot of money, and the public ponies up, whether that's in-kind labor or they give us money to help out with these projects. Like I said, the mountain bike groups have really stepped up. We went from making about $5,000 a year at the mountain bike at Standing Rocks to about $24,000 a year. It's become a central mountain biking area. If you haven't had a chance to get out there and look, take a look at it. They're doing amazing stuff out there with that club. Another, even on a smaller level, we are working with the Allman Gun and Rod Club to redo a boat pier at Wolf Lake. So that one's been underwater for 2 years. It's still underwater. So they're helping us and working with them to put in new fishing piers. We've done some new projects at Standing Rock's Dog Park, so we had a lot of donations and a lot of help with that as well. And sometimes you get surprised, and one of them was a donation from Tom Newton, his name is. He owns Newton Electric out of Wausau. They gave me $80,400 to put in a new playground equipment out at Lake Emily. So we get a lot of donations, a lot of participation from the community. So I'm going to leave it at that. I think I've gone probably over, but is there any questions? Otherwise, you're more than welcome to give me a call, ask me anything you'd like, or if you want a park tour someday, I'd be more than happy to take you out on one.
Any questions? I'd just like to make one comment, though, that I always hear from people outside our areas and the people within our community about how nice our parks are. So that's a direct reflection of Mr. Rose and his staff. As well as the people in this area that continue to make these donations. The Jankowski, is that a?
Yeah, Edith and Dallas Jankowski the year before gave us about $60,000 to put in lighting at Standing Rocks to light a 3K ski loop out there. So we did all the work, they bought all the materials, so that partnership worked out well.
Did they come back and give some more for the dog park as well? Or is that still?
I don't know what they give that. They typically give that money to the Friends of Standing Rocks, and then they dole it out that way. So I'm not quite sure if they give
But
that.
we've got some people in the community, and I think they're also donating. The Jankowskis, I think, are donating the bridge docks at Pacoa and Plover too as well. So we've got some people that continue to give back, and it's great that we have those people in the area. And I'm always glad to see that the finished product is always something that's stellar to be very happy and very pleased with when we're done. So they see that their money is going to good use and gets a lot of use. And if you haven't had the opportunity to go out to Standing Rocks and see some of the improvements out there with the new building, the fire pit around it, the dog park, the trails for the mountain bikes, and that club is really stepping up. They want to have something in this area that's close to their home and that they can utilize, but it's a great asset that we have people that are willing to do that and step up. So, and I know Mr. Rose has made a lot of changes to the park with reservations for the campgrounds, paying for electricity at the campgrounds, and we have a wood processor machine that was probably going to pay for itself in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, it's paid for itself already.
Yeah, so these are all great things and great improvements for the Parks Department. And I encourage anybody to take a look at what we have if you're out and about or if you need a tour. So, Mr. Splendor, you had a?
Yeah, I just thought if Ryan could spend maybe just a minute on the sculpture in honor of effigy mounds out at Lake Emily that we've approved to go ahead. It's an interesting process, which I don't think a lot of people knew there were mounds out at Lake Emily. So
yeah, there's a lot of Native American mounds out at Lake Emily, and we've been working with Ray Reeser, the Idea Center, and then Karen Ann Hoffman. She kind of brought the idea to us. So we're actually going to be installing a sculpture out there later in the year. It's called the Three Sisters, and it's kind of a monument to that area out there. It should be really nice. I saw photographs of what they're looking at doing. So it'll be done in copper. It's life size. It'll be mounted into a stone, and it'll be located over by the boat launch on that side of the road. So it should look really nice.
Any other questions or comments? If none, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Item number 4, Area Extension Director Jason Hauser, UW-Madison Division of Extension Annual Report. Jason?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Portage County Board, Executive Pavelski, thanks for the time this evening. I don't have a joke to start out like Director Rose, and I will try and be as efficient as he is. In your packet is the annual report. I think Maria's pulled up the presentation. What's on the presentation are the highlights that I want to make sure that everybody at least sees or checks in. I'm not going to go through the entire report word by word, but a couple of things I want to draw your attention to. So I serve as the area director, serving here Portage County, Marathon, Clark, and Wood counties. And I have the pleasure of working with a great team here in Portage County. They're your educators through your investment each and every year. So I'm here to speak on behalf of our staff, but they're the ones that do the work, and I am just singing their praises. So thanks for that opportunity to walk through this. So drawing your attention to the agriculture educator highlights. So Ken Schrader is our ag educator. He's been working with some producer-led watershed groups, Farmers of Mill Creek and Farmers for Tomorrow. He gets a grant from DATCAP pretty much every year to do these projects with them. And it's sustainability practices in agriculture that affect our water quality in those two distinct watersheds. And so if you had a chance to connect with Ken on those, he's always doing things and getting out to see those trials and working with John Aaron and other folks at the Mill Creek. So that is a high intense program that Ken's involved with. The research trials, we're researchers. The university is a research organization and we're educators. And so Ken has been working on some research trials with nitrogen management in corn and how the application of that does impact yields and also the impact of the application in other facets of the ecosystem. And then cover crops and no-till. So if we're not doing no-till planting, what does that look like? What kind of cover crops can we leverage and then harvest off that property? And then lastly, a thing that I think is very important for all of Portage County, and actually he's been working extensively for many years with the Highway Department, is wild parsnip. It's an invasive and it has noxious capabilities, and so he is actively engaged with folks to make sure that to mitigate the impacts of wild parsnip and invasives in our community. So moving on to community development, that's Nathan Sandwick. Many of you know Nathan as the jack of all trades. If you have a question, you call our office. 9 times out of 10, if it's not ag or 4-H related, they'll send you to Nathan, and Nathan will have an answer for you. If he doesn't have the answer, he'll get it to you. But his kind of programming highlights include community vitality and placemaking. We're looking at economic development. There's a lot of research out there about economic development, and it used to be bring in the industry and then the people will come. What research has shown now is that you have to make sure that your community, via parks, and Director Rose, a good park system, a good place to live, a good place to raise a family, and then the businesses will attract that way. So he's really involved in some statewide work on improving community vitality. That is through entrepreneurship and investment in parks and those other things to make sure that people want to continue to live and reside here in Portage County. The Central Sands Groundwater County Collaborative, this is a 5-county collaborative that Nathan has actually been involved with from a planning perspective and a facilitation piece and getting those partners all to come together at the table to be proactive regarding groundwater in the Central Sands area. And so I take some note of that in the annual report. And then lastly, strategic planning and local government support. So you see the Village of Park Ridge, he just completed a strategic planning process with them. He's finalizing the report right now that's going to help that village move forward a lot of their planning efforts into the future. So always busy and always engaged. Human development and relationships. This is the let's say the old family living educator, the homemaker program. But Sherry Daniels is our educator, and 3 highlights that I want to focus in on here out of the packet, or out of the annual report, if you will, is the Rent Ready program. The county invests a small pot of money in the Rent Ready program, which is a partnership with the city of Stevens Point, and we're the educational arm of that through the financial wellness of Portage County. So clients are brought in, and we provide the education of what it means to be good stewards of their finances and how they can maintain safe and stable housing through that program. And then Triple PEEP, the Positive Parenting Program. This is kind of a new program that she has started in as a result kind of some of the pandemic issues in social and emotional health and well-being of our young people and mental health, and getting involved with those parents on the forefront before it gets to be a long-term systemic issue and maybe unfortunately ending up with Sheriff Lucas in the jail system. So working on the preventative measures instead of the aftermath of that. So the FoodWise program, this is a federally funded program that is through our office through Extension. The SNAP Ed, the SNAP Ed dollars that come to each state are then appropriated, and Extension is the recipient of that. And so we offer through this program. There's no cost to the county for this program by having our office open. We have 2 staff members that are in this area, and so a couple of things that you'll see in your packet under the FoodWise area, the stock box program. That's ready to go, food options, food stock boxes to get out to the seniors, those that may be shut in, and those that are in high need. The return of school-based programming. So during 2020 and into 2021, we weren't allowed into schools, but the FoodWise program is all about nutrition education, and so not being able to have that face-to-face interaction with the hands-on, like, what is a pineapple? What does a piece of broccoli look like? Some kids have never seen those fruits and vegetables, and so being able to see that in person was fantastic in 2021. And then lastly, the USDA grant to improve access to farmers markets. It's a $200,000 grant that our FoodWise program worked to secure, that it benefits Portage County, but also into Wood County, to make sure the EBT is able to be used at the farmers market. So can we get fresh produce and vegetables to those that need it or don't have access to that? So. And then our last program here that I want to highlight is our 4-H and youth development. This is the program that many people hear of when they think of Extension as 4-H and 4-H clubs and members. So summer camp return to in-person. That's great to get those kids back, and in the summer provide them an opportunity to learn and grow in a camp setting. And we know that overnight camps do really promote lifelong skills of teamwork and active listening and how do you respond in different situations, and so we're happy to have that back. Our program is still very vibrant here in Portage County, nearly 300 members and 13 clubs throughout the county. I can't say that that's the same thing across the state. There's some that have lost more membership, but we are returning back to near pre-COVID levels. There was a big dip last year, but we're continuing to rise and grow. And actually, last week was the Amherst Fair. So if you had a chance to see a lot of our 4-H members out there, if you attended that fair, you would see a lot of them in action and showcasing their project development. And then new last year was the 4-H Tech Changemakers. This was a collaboration between Microsoft and 4-H statewide, and so getting technology in the hands of our young people to then also train and develop those that are maybe technologically illiterate, if you will, those that are either seniors that want to connect with their grandkids, or those that are new to our community that have never used technology. I'm thinking of some of the Afghans that have come to central Wisconsin, getting them access to those technology systems, because a lot of what we do for services in our daily lives is tied to the web or internet access and those technology services. So that's the quick highlight of our local educators, but I want to make sure that we point out that is a statewide network. You are plugged in Portage County here to a statewide network of extension specialists across the state, and actually some of our other extension specialists are at UW-Stevens Point. So we have extension researchers that are based out of Stevens Point. We have some that, again, of course, at Madison, but also River Falls, Platteville, and spread throughout the state. And so at any one time, our staff can, if you have a question that they can't answer, they can tap in that statewide network and bring state specialists up to do that. The other thing I want to focus in on, too, is last fall, or actually earlier this spring, this board did approve a small donation to an agricultural water specialist, and that person actually started yesterday. And I haven't had a chance to meet this person, but I anticipate, that person making an appearance at an Ag and Extension meeting and being available to all of you. So that was thanks to your support, we were able to hire that to focus in on agricultural practices in the Central Sands area that would improve groundwater. So the question that I always get asked for those that are new to the board is, well, how is Extension funded? and where does the money come from for these services and the education we provide. And the quick that I can give is we're a four-legged stool. So one is the university, or Portage County, you being the primary driver of this and saying we want to invest in extension services. So that's where the services of 4-H, ag, community development, and human development come in through your investment. The state of Wisconsin, through the biennium budget, through the University of Wisconsin system, and so us being part of medicine, we get some appropriations from the state budget. The U.S. federal government, through the Smith-Lever Act of 1914, which talked about cooperative extension services across the country, the state of Wisconsin gets nearly $10 million through that appropriation that's remained static for the last 10, 12 years. But we're still able to bring that in, and that's tied to local educators and not just housed in medicine for administrative services. This is education out in the communities. And then our staff do apply for grants, both locally, regionally, and I mentioned Ken's research grants through DATCAP for those watershed groups. So it is truly that four-legged stool. But what does this mean to Portage County? How is our office funded here? So there's a quick breakdown on the next slide. On the chart, maybe? There it is. And one of the things that I try to highlight, and hopefully it's coming through there, yes, is the true investment. So extension covers nearly 60% of the entire cost of the office. The state funds that we bring in to support our educators, and it's broken down on that table. And these aren't down to the penny, but these are some baseline numbers for you to know as we often get questions of like, what's the split between the state and the state and Portage County, or state and other collaborators, and this is a snapshot of our Portage County office here. So roughly a 60-40 split. And my position is 100% state funded, and I do serve Portage County, and I'm proud to actually serve Portage County and the opportunities that are given to me here. So, and then lastly, I want to focus on a leveraged funding. So in your packet, 4-H talks about leveraged funding through volunteerism. We do leverage over 100 volunteers through our 4-H program, our Master Gardener program, and it's invested back into the Portage County community. So we lead those volunteers, and they're doing good work in the communities that you live. So a conservative estimate is roughly 7 hours a month for our volunteers. If you met a 4-H volunteer, they would say it's more like 15, 20 hours a month that they're giving back to their club or their members. And so a conservative estimate of roughly 7 hours a month over a 12-month period. And there's a calculation from the independent sector of nearly $29 per hour. So that gives you almost over $250,000 of value back to Portage County through our volunteers. So just a couple of highlights that were in the annual report, and I thank you for your time this evening. And if it's okay with the chairman, I would entertain any questions.
Anybody have any questions, comments? I guess I'd like to make a comment. I attended the awards dinner this year, and the first time ever, and was just amazed at the young people and their accomplishments and all of the hard work that they put forward. I was not aware of that. And for some of the younger new supervisors, as you hear these reports each month, it's we're a big animal. We have a lot of tentacles touching a lot of areas, and we're involved in a lot of things, and there's a lot of resources out there that are trying to help and work with the community and do a lot of good work. And Director Hauser is one of those people. So thank you, sir, and thanks to your staff. So
yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Number 5, Justice Program Director Andrea Starr, Justice Program Annual Report.
A little shorter. Okay. Hi, I'm Andrea Starr, for some of you that I haven't met. I'm the Justice Programs Director, been in the position for about 4 years. So this is the second annual report that I've done because I've always gotten a lot of questions about the programs that are offered through the department, and I thought I would put this together. It wouldn't be an annual report by me if there wasn't errors in it, and this is no exception. So it's always the second page. Last year, I spelled 2 supervisors' names incorrectly. This year, I put Supervisor Jankowski on the wrong, in an on the coalition as a member, and he was not. I gave him too much credit for two boards that he was on. Supervisor Dodge was another person on there. So I'm thinking next year I'm going to spell somebody's name wrong and incorrectly put them. So we'll see what happens. Maybe my fourth year will be a better one.
It's Haga's, H-A-G-A.
Yeah, right. Did I do that wrong? I don't even want to know. Okay, spelling's not my strong point. So if, just a couple of highlights. The first part would be the treatment court that has been around in Portage County since 2017. And if you look under the section where it says importance of a multidisciplinary team, on the second page there's some statistics that I want to point out just briefly. For every $1 spent in treatment court, the taxpayers are saving $2 to $4, and that's based on due to incarceration rates. Incarceration rates are quite high, and as you can see a little bit lower on the page of what the costs were averted through the treatment court program last year. If we put people in jail that have a true AODA or alcohol and drug issue, they're at a higher rate of relapsing and possibly overdosing when they are discharged from the jail. They have a 47% higher rate of overdosing if they are discharged. So that being said, we try to get Narcan out into the community as much as possible. And one of my other hats that I wear is a co-chair to the Alcohol and Drug Coalition here of Portage County. And we are looking at getting naloxone boxes, which house free Narcan for anybody to have. As of right now, the Department of Corrections has a box in their waiting room. The Sheriff's Office is in the works of getting a box, and so is the Stevens Point Police Department. And so if there is any jurisdiction out there that has an interest of getting a free naloxone box with free Narcan that can be refilled in there, please let me know. I can certainly reach out to the people that provide that, but we're trying to get Narcan out into the community as much as possible because we want people to live. If we threaten jail, or if we to somebody and they go into jail and that stops them from using, they truly don't have an alcohol and drug addiction, because if jail is all they needed, then they would have just quit. And we don't find the people that I'm working with in the programs we have, that's not the case. And one thing to highlight too, it takes 8 to 9 years for someone to reach full recovery, and usually it takes 3 to 4 treatment episodes. So people that are terminated or graduate our treatment court, we welcome them back if they continue to struggle with their addiction, because we know it's a lifetime of change, and it can take a long time. As you can see on the slide that we have here, there's just some research that has come out over the last 30 years based on treatment courts. And I just want to highlight real quickly that for people that have true alcohol and drug addiction, if you incarcerate them, the effects on crime, they have an 8% chance of committing new crimes. But that's used most often in courts, is incarceration. And on the other spectrum, if you look, treatment courts help decrease the amount of recidivism in the community, and that's the least used nationally. So, and then you'll see the everything in between. So that's why I'm always pushing for treatment court, and the fact that research is showing that it does work. It may take some time, and it may take people 3 to 4 times to go through treatment court and additional treatment and supervision to maintain sobriety, but that does have a long-term effect on recidivism in communities. I'm in the process of working with UW Stevens Point, a professor over there, who is going to be evaluating our program of people that were terminated and graduated from the program to see if there was any recidivism. So we're going to see here in the next few months if we're making an impact on the participants' lives. One other thing I just want to note is the second to the last page under the non-monetary bonds work group. I'm always going to continue to bang the drum on looking at changing our day report program to be more evidence-based. Currently, the judges are just guessing when somebody comes into their courtroom what their risk level is. And we do have a validated assessment that we could be using to help the courts make a decision of if people need any type of supervision while they're out on bond. And those are all things that are laid out here, that the progress that has been made and not been made on that. And so, and I talked briefly about that during the presentation that I did last month. And on the very last page, why do I talk about this? Again, incarceration of people from 2 to 3 days, we increase their recidivism rate by 40%. If they're incarcerated over 30 days, they're more likely to be arrested 74%. And so I'm not anti-jail. Jails need to exist. Some people do need to be incarcerated, but the majority of the population, it does more harm to them, and it does hurt our community because it does increase their recidivism. So with that, I'm able to take questions.
Supervisor Splinter.
Just curious about the Narcan, is with the kind of explosion of the fentanyl in our country, is that an effective solution for an overdose under fentanyl? And what other drugs is it effective for? I don't know.
It can, because, people just don't necessarily just take fentanyl. People don't know what they're taking when they're injecting. So we say it doesn't hurt to use Narcan on somebody. So I don't really have an answer for you, because really you're seeing a mixture of drugs. And the reason I say that, our drug court participants that are testing positive are coming back with 2 or 3 or 4 different types of drugs in their system, and they thought they just took one. So that, I would say it doesn't hurt to use Narcan on anybody, even if they're not even having an overdose, but people might think they are. If you use it, there's no harm. So we just want it to get out there and be utilized.
Is it effective most of the time if they get to them in time?
It depends, and it has to have several doses. So that's why in these boxes we'll put 3 to 4 doses in there, because on average, and maybe others can speak to this, I'm understanding it's about 3 to 4 doses that people are having to give. I know of a residential facility in Madison that had to gave 10, and the person didn't make it. So we want it just to be accessible as much as possible. It doesn't hurt.
Thank you.
Supervisor Gifford.
Yeah, the thing I like about this report is that it is so data-based or evidence-based. You know, we often talk about evidence-based policymaking, the importance of basing policy on fact and data that can be gathered. It's like for every paragraph of narrative that you have, there's a whole bunch of figures, facts and figures to support that. So I really like seeing a report like this. It's good.
Thank you.
Anything else? So I'd like to make a comment that Wood County has a jail of 100 inmates, and don't hold me to these numbers, and I believe they have 100 in Wapaka as well, and they maybe have some people in Marathon County. So I talked to the chair for Wood County at different functions and mentioned that to him, and I said, we have nowhere near that number, and what they need to do is get an Andrea of their own, not our Andrea, but their own Andrea, some version of it.
Don't ship around.
Yeah, because I said putting people in jail is very expensive, and he told me, he says, well, we're very stern. If you break the law, you go to jail. And I said, yeah, that's right, but how's that working for you? You've got over 200-300 people, and you've been doing it for a long time. The message, it isn't working. So
They do have a me of Wood County now.
yep,
So.
and I do, and they do, and I hope that was something to do with me, but it was a lot to do with you because of the programs and the things that you've brought to this, and I think Andrea is kind of the gold standard for a lot of the rest of them, and again, we're lucky to have her. And if you have any questions about any of the things with our justice, incarceration, or any of our other programs, Andrea's a wealth of knowledge for that, and she'd be glad to help you. And it's all good stuff when we can help people get on the right path. So, That's it. Thank you. Members of the public who wish to address the county board on specific agenda items must register their requests at this time with such comments subject to reasonable control of the county board chair as set forth in Robert's Rules of Order. I don't think we have anybody here in the public tonight. Confirmation of county executives' appointments and reappointments. Number 6, various appointments to the local emergency planning committee as follows for the remainder of the 4-year term expiring April 15th of 2024. Jason Dockley, Dave Lutz, Hunter Hart, Kenneth Collins, Todd Peterson, Joel Perol, Dan Reber. I'll take a motion. Motion by Supervisor Jankowski, seconded by Supervisor Dubeck. Discussion. All those in favor with aye? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 7, reappointment of Don Jankowski to the local emergency planning committee for a 2-year term expiring April 15th, 2024. Oh, you need to read these, I'm sorry.
Not this one.
No, we need to read those?
Done resolutions and ordinances.
You're good. Okay. Motion by Supervisor Pataki, seconded by Supervisor Medine. Discussion. All those in favor with aye? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 8, appointment of Jason Pingel to the Board of Adjustments as a second alternative member for the remainder of a 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2024. I'll take a motion by Supervisor Dubeck, seconded by Supervisor Soik. Discussion. All those in favor with aye? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, appointment of Rick Duerr to the Board of Adjustment for a 3-year term expiring June 30th, 2025. Motion by Supervisor Soik, seconded by Supervisor Splinter. Discussion. All those in favor with aye? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Resolutions and ordinances. Number 10, establishing November 1st, 2022 as the official annual meeting date of the Portage County Board of Supervisors for 2022.
This is resolution number 28-2022-2024, submitted by the Executive Operations Committee. This resolution adjourns the annual meeting date of November 8th, 2022, and establishes November 1st, 2022 as the official annual meeting date of the Portage County Board of Supervisors for 2022.
Motion by Supervisor Laddick, seconded by Supervisor Pataki. Discussion. All those in favor with aye? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 11, ratification of the collective bargaining agreement of Portage County and Portage County Deputy Sheriff's Association, WPPA, for the period of January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2024. Motion by Supervisor Moresi, seconded by Supervisor Rakowski. Discussion. All those in favor with aye? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 12, authorizing 2022 budget amendments and transfers.
This is resolution number 30-2022-2024, submitted by the Finance Committee. This resolution authorizes specified budget amendments and transfers, and this resolution requires a 2/3 supermajority vote.
Motion by Supervisor Morrow, seconded by Supervisor Laddick. Discussion. All those in favor with aye? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 13, authorizing a contract with J.J. Findorff and Sons, Inc. to provide construction manager at-risk services for Portage County.
This is resolution number 31-2022-2024, submitted by the Space and Properties Committee and the Finance Committee. This resolution approves and authorizes staff to enter into and execute a contract with J.J. Findorff and Son Incorporated to provide construction manager at risk services for the construction of new government facilities.
Motion by Supervisor Jankowski, seconded by Supervisor Matt Jankowski. Discussion. All those in favor with aye? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, I just want to take a moment here and thank our deputy clerk. We are fully staffed, but during the interim, Lee, our deputy clerk, has stepped up and carried on the duties, and I wanted to make sure that I publicly acknowledge that and appreciate it. There was evenings when I was here after hours, after 4:30, and Lee was still here continuing to work. So I wanted to acknowledge him and have the board acknowledge him as well. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Motion by Pataki, seconded by Splinter. All those in favor with aye? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.